Okay, this is a reaction video. This is from Feli from Germany. How do you deal with Imperial units? Please click like, share, and subscribe from Feli from Germany, and like, share, and subscribe for me right down there. I would appreciate it. Let's see how you deal with Imperial units.
You guys ask, I respond. Today's question is, how do you deal with Imperial units? Do you think about temperatures, distances, and other measurements in Fahrenheit, inches, miles, gallons, etc.? Or do you convert everything into metric units?
Well, I always, I'm an American, so inches, it's an American thing. We don't use the metric system in the United States, unfortunately. So.
Hello, servus, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Feli. I'm originally from Munich, Germany, but I've been living here in Cincinnati, Ohio, on and off since 2016. After last week's Ask a German episode, I got a lot of questions for this category from you guys, and I asked you on Instagram which one you want to see next, and a lot of you wanted to know if I think about measurements in the metric system that is used in Germany and most parts of the world, or in the imperial system that is used here in the US, and how long it took me to get used to that. And before I answer that, I should probably say that just in general, I am not the best with measurements. When people ask me to estimate how much people were
I'm not good with measurements either, so that we have that in common.
Or in a crowd or something like that, I always just jokingly say, oh, like a million, because I really just don't have a good feeling for that at all. And it's kind of similar with distances when people ask me how far something is. So that applies to both the imperial and the metric system for me. That being said though, of course, I'm more familiar with the metric system. If you tell me something is 200 meters away, that definitely gives me a much better idea than if you say it's 700 feet away. And when Ben and I started doing home improvement projects in our house last year, I was honestly shocked by how impractical the imperial system really is. I mean, I obviously knew that the different units weren't all connected to each other like they are in the metric system, so you can't just divide something by 10 or by 100 to change the unit, but when we did the shiplap wall...
Yeah, I mean, I like the metric system better. I really do. I agree with her. The metric system is better, but that's not what we use in the United States, so it's not very practical to have even any, whenever when I was in Germany, I kind of appreciate the metric system a little bit more.
All in our bedroom last year, Ben would take a bunch of measurements and I'd always write them down, and this is what my notes looked like. 130 and 5/8, 2 15/16, right? 89 and 5/8, 7/8 across, 13 and 11/16, 63 and 1/32, and then he'd sometimes randomly give me a decimal measurement, like 10.5 inches or something like that. And I'd be like, what is happening? That was literally the point where I was like, how do you guys live with this pain of a measurement system and not lose your minds all the time?
It is what it is. I mean, you just do it. It's just how we do it. I mean, it's just something where we've gotten used to.
I mean, do you realize how difficult it is to calculate where the center is of 31 and 5/8 inches, let alone calculating 2/3 of that or something? And don't even get me started on when you look at furniture dimensions and it'll say 36 inches wide, and then it throws in another measurement of 6.6 feet, which, mind you, is not the same as 6 feet and 6 inches. So taking measurements almost always comes with a lot of math in this country, and what can I say? It's just miserable. And just to...
Yeah, it is. I mean, like I said, that's why I like the metric system. The metric system, everything is connected, and not like with the imperial system in the United States. But that just is what it is. It's how we've gotten used to doing things.
To give you guys some background information here, because I'm throwing around a bunch of different measurement units in this video. In the metric system, you have a millimeter, then 10 millimeters are a centimeter, 10 centimeters are 1 decimeter, 100 centimeters or 10 decimeters are 1 meter, 1,000 meters are 1 kilometer, and so on. And this is also related to volume, so 1 liter is 1 cubic decimeter, for example. So a cube of 10 centimeters by 10 by 10. And the same goes for kilos and grams, right? 1,000 milligrams are 1 gram, 1,000 grams are 1 kilogram, 1,000 kilograms are 1 ton, and so on. In the imperial system, however, they use all kinds of different units together. There's an inch, which equals 2.54 centimeters, then 12 inches are 1 foot, 3 feet are a yard, and then 1,760 yards, or 5,280 feet, are 1 mile, which equals about 1.6 kilometers. Makes sense, right? Then, of course,
Again, it made more sense with the metric system. That's what we use in the United States. We use the imperial system. That's how we've always done things.
when you cook or bake, there's a fluid ounce, which is 29.57 milliliters, a cup, which is 236.6 milliliters, which is also half a pint, and 1/16 of a gallon, which is 128 fluid ounces, or about 3.78 liters. Oh yeah, and you gotta make sure that you don't get confused between fluid ounces and regular ounces, which are used as a weight measurement. And 1 ounce is 0.06 pounds, or 28.35 grams. And if you thought that a pound is exactly half a kilogram, which would make that conversion fairly simple at least, nope, it's actually 0.45 kilograms. So that's not super easy math either. And then of course there's Fahrenheit for temperatures, where 32 degrees marks the freezing.
Freezing versus 0 with the, again, Celsius, 0 and 32 degrees, again. Whenever we say it's 78 degrees out in the United States, well, they're like that centigrade. That's boiling. That's too hot for anybody. But it is. It is what it is.
Freezing point, and water boils at 212 degrees. So if you can't tell by now, I find the imperial system very confusing, and I obviously had to look all of these numbers up. It's not like I know any of this by heart. And that probably already.
No, I think we got that.
Already answers the questions to a certain extent. So for the most part, no, I don't use imperial units in my head. But of course I am exposed to them a lot. So we do have measuring cups for the imperial units at home. All of our tape measures are imperial units, and I kind of have a vague idea of how much a gallon is, because milk here usually comes in 1 or half-gallon containers. This is a half-gallon. Then, of course, I do know my own height in feet and inches. I'm 136 centimeters tall, which equals 5'4", so 5 feet and 4 inches. And I also know that when people are over 6 foot tall, they're pretty tall, and when they're over 7 feet tall, they struggle getting through the door and should probably consider a career in basketball. When it comes to my weight, though,
well, yeah, that they may be good at basketball. They may not be good at basketball. I mean, I think it was Jan Kohler who played for the Czech Republic, who was 6'8" and couldn't play basketball. He played football or soccer. So.
I've been in a few situations where I was asked that, like when I got my driver's license here or at the doctor's, and that is something that I don't usually know. I don't weigh myself a lot in general, but if anything, I'll know it in kilograms, and then I'll know that in pounds, it's double that plus a little bit, but I usually just have to convert it in my phone. In terms of temperature, I actually have 2 different weather apps on my phone. One is set to Fahrenheit and one is set to Celsius, and
so there you go. I don't know that 61 measures each of 16. Let's see, it is what it is. I mean, she has it set up that way, so.
I usually check both of them. I mean, after all these years, I definitely have a general feeling for Fahrenheit, but I usually like to double check and look at the Celsius too. Like, I know that temperatures over 60 degrees Fahrenheit are getting warm. I know that over 75, it's pretty much summer weather, and when it's in the 80s or even 90s, it's getting really hot. And of course, I know that everything under 40 is really cold, and under 32, it's actually freezing. But if you give me the temperature in Fahrenheit, I wouldn't be able to tell you the exact conversion to Celsius. It's more like how you learn temperatures as a kid for me.
Yeah, I mean, she probably learned it as a kid in Munich as Celsius, and then had to relearn it when she came to the United States in Fahrenheit.
I would see the temperature being at 18 degrees Celsius as a kid, and I would notice that it feels really nice out and that I don't have to wear a jacket anymore. So over time, I kind of learned what 18 degrees Celsius felt like. And I'm pretty much going through that same process again with Fahrenheit, if that makes sense. What honestly helps a bit with...
Yeah, again, it makes sense, because like I said, you're used to, if 18 degrees meant it was pretty good weather outside in Germany, and then you get to the United States, it's like 61 degrees. How do you know? I mean, it's like 61 versus 18. That must feel like you're walking on the sun, but it's just different.
temperatures is that most houses here have a thermostat, so I'm very familiar with what temperature we usually set that to in the winter and in the summer. And same when you have a thermostat in your car, like you just get a kind of a good feeling of what it feels like when you set it to 75 degrees versus 65. Now when it comes to distances, I do actually have my Google Maps set to miles and feet, so I am going with the full American experience in that regard. And I do think that I've gotten somewhat of a feeling for how long I still have to go when it tells me 500 feet. But if we're being real, I honestly mostly just rely on the map. So like the graphic where it shows me how many more intersections it is until I have to turn. And that's honestly the same when I have it set to meters as well.
Yeah, again, that works really well when you're driving and you have to, how many intersections, things like that. The map, it works.
Well, now, as the true German I am, I do also have a measuring cup that has liters on it, just in case I want to make something from a German recipe. And I do also have a ruler with metric units on it. And just the other day when we did this faux brick wall in our kitchen, we just went ahead and used the metric ruler for that, because it just made it a lot easier to calculate where all the cutouts are and divide it by a half or a quarter or something. So what are your takes on the whole imperial versus metric system topic? Let me know in the comments below. And if there are other expats watching who live in the US but grew up with the metric system, how do you guys handle that? And I also have a very important question to all of my American viewers. When are you guys finally gonna switch to the metric system and make all of our lives easier? Anyway.
Okay, to answer that question, I can give you an answer to that question. When you feel that, put your hand outside on the grass, okay? And when you feel that cold air coming up from the surface of the ground, from the ground surface, signifying that hell has indeed frozen over, then you will know we will have changed to the metric system, because it ain't gonna happen, and it's not gonna happen now, not gonna happen in my lifetime, not gonna happen in anybody's lifetime. We are not gonna change. We are married to the Imperial unit, and that's just how it's gonna be.
Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's Ask a German episode. Put your questions for this category in the comments below with the hashtag #AskAGerman. And for next week's question, I'll actually need the input from my German viewers, so be on the outlook for a post on my YouTube community tab, Facebook, and Instagram. If you enjoy my content, it would be a huge support if you hit the subscribe button or even support me on Patreon. You can buy me a coffee or just send me a super thanks down below. Thank you guys so much for watching and for your support, and I'll be back with
Yeah, thanks for watching. Feli from Germany. Please click like, share, and subscribe for her, as well as like, share, and subscribe for me. I would appreciate it as well. But how do you deal with Imperial units? Ask a German. Feli from Germany. Please, please click like, share, and subscribe for her, as well as down there for me. I would appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching.